welcome to Beyond the Black Tag. This is part 2 of our conversation with Yonela Mafundijala. Once again, Yonela, thanks again, man, for being with us. We want to continue with the conversation, okay? So we want to transition now into dating. So missionaries all over the world have this pressure, right? This immense pressure. And maybe you can tell us where it's coming from, to come back and get married, right? To date. Did you ever feel that pressure, or was it never a thing for you? And how did you navigate through that?
Marriage is one of the first questions you get asked when you come back from mission by your stake president. They don't forget to ask you, all right, now that when are you getting married? I got asked that question. I was, but I sat with my stake president, and he released me as a missionary. And then he was like, okay, Brother Yonela, you're now released as a missionary. When are you getting married? What are your plans for marriage? And then I just sat there, and then I just threw a random number in my head. I'm like, yeah, I'll get married in 3 years. and then he said, let me stop you right there. He said, I don't want you to give me, a number or a timeline as to when you plan on getting married. Just tell me that you'll get married as soon as you can. Now, your as soon as you can differs from everyone else. Or it can be, next year, it can be in 2 years, it can be in 10 years, it can be in 4 years. But as soon as it's possible for you, to get married, then do it. And I promise you, whatever that was said by anyone else after that interview did not really matter much. Because in my mind, I'm like, I will get married as soon as it's possible for me to get married. Now, has it been possible for me to get married? Not really. It hasn't really. Is marriage a priority in my life? Yes, it is. Do I want to get married? Yes, of course. I remember a couple of months or weeks after I got released, I was then called to present my mission to the state high council, and then I went there, and then I gave an accounting of my mission, and then right at the end of my accounting, I was then asked again, Brother Mafundijala, are you planning on getting married? And sure. Obviously, the textbook answer is yes. Yes. and then the question that came after that is, what are you doing? What are your plans, or what are you doing now to prepare for marriage? And I'm like, well, I'm dating. What do you mean? I'm seeing people. My plan is to date.
Yeah.
My plan is to see people. So yeah. I don't really get pressured unnecessarily to get married. But I mean, what I can tell you is, as the years progress, you start to feel the urgency of marriage, just within yourself. Your body tells you that it's nearly time now. And then just everything around you, it just doesn't make sense without a companion, And I am slowly reaching a point where I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've been back for almost 3 years now, and things are starting to not make that much sense, without a companion. But there's one thing I will never do. I will never take someone's daughter into my home without a proper plan on how I am going to be successful in that marriage.
Yeah. That's a mouthful. I have a lot of thoughts. And I'm just so struck by the profound words you shared. Your timeline does not look like anybody else's timeline. The requirement is that you make up your mind that you'll do that. When? That's up to you and the Lord. but that you have made up your mind. But then the follow-up question I have is, it's weird, Yonela, we are a very weird group of people to the world, or to everybody else who's not a member of the church, because look.
I thought you guys forgot men. Men are weird.
No, but if you think about it, who encourages in 2023, people to get married at age 22 and 23 and 24 and whatever age it is that you get back from your mission to get married, right? Because the emphasis is get your life in order, right? Work a bit, save up money, and then then you can focus on marriage later on in your life once you've acquired these things. So then why would it be such an emphasis from those leaders to, first of all, make marriage a priority, but even for yourself? I mean, you've mentioned that you need companionship, but are there other reasons you feel that, and could it be doctrinal as well, the fact that marriage has to be a thing that one aspires to, or can you just say, look, I'm just here to date, I'll just date until forever? Why the importance on marriage as a principle?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, the very important reason why personally I want to get married and why I think marriage is important, it's because marriage is a commandment that comes from God. Now, a lot of people, they associate marriage a lot with falling in love, which is very good. I mean, you must be in love before you get married. But think less of it as a commandment that comes. Heavenly Father has commanded that we get married. This is in 1 Corinthians 11:11. Behold, unless neither a man nor a woman, nor a woman with if you want to stand in the presence of God, or even stay in the presence of God in the last day or at the last day, then you need to be in a family situation, because God Himself dwells in a family situation. So that's why marriage is very important for me. It's basically taking what the Father has given. Now, also, I remember the reply that Adam gave to the angel when he was asked, why is he making a sacrifice? One of the first things, if you asked me, why do you want to get married? My response would be, well, I know Lord save the Lord commanded me. That's why I want to get married. Now, all these other things then kind of fall into place. The fact that, I am in love with this person, the fact that, okay, now I want a family with this person, everything else just falls into place. Now, the mistake that we make sometimes is to focus on, our things than Heavenly Father's things. We first want to be in love. We first want to be compatible with the person. We first want to, do all these sorts of things that seem good to us, and then lose sight of the fact that, Heavenly Father has commanded us. My stake president usually says, two people that are faithful in their covenants can get married even when they don't, necessarily love each other. Because, let's be honest, you actually learn to love someone as the time progresses. Because, the person that I see today could be different than the person that I will see 10 years down the line. So I'm consistently learning this person, and also I'm consistently learning to love, these different phases that this person goes through, right? Then the most important thing that one has to consider is first, now, are we faithful in our covenant? Do we understand that this entire thing is a commandment that comes from God? Do we do the things that we are supposed to be doing? And then everything just falls into place. There's a talk that I love by Lawrence E. Corbett. He speaks about, primary questions and secondary questions, right? He says a lot of times we tend to, put a lot of focus into secondary questions, right? And then he says, if we find answers to the primary questions, now the primary questions are very few, right? Now I'll try and relate this to the topic that we have at hand. The primary questions maybe would be, is this person, faithful in their covenants? Are they keeping the commandments and all these things? When you have answers to those primary questions, then the secondary questions get answered automatically, or they feel insignificant, right?
Yeah.
I'm one person that's picky sometimes. I want someone that has beautiful toes. I want someone that is well spoken sometimes, someone that's confident and all these things. But honestly speaking, those things alone will not take me to heaven.
Correct.
They do not. What I need is someone that's going to help me keep the commandments enough for me to be exalted as well. So now, when the person's relationship with God becomes important, their perspective on the gospel and everything that is spiritual then takes precedence. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
100%. I actually want to throw something at Mao, but I want to say something first. I love the conversation that you just began of the whole, you need to be in love before you get married. You need, I want to marry somebody whom I love and things like that. And the view that you have about two faithful people can make something work. I agree with you 100%. That's my view as well. But I had a conversation with someone once, and he spoke about how there's obviously there's love the feeling, and then there's love the action. I talk about love the action, and he was talking about love the feeling, and how they're not the same, but they coincide very easily and very well. Where if you love someone, or if you want to love someone, want to show this person love, you will come to learn who they are and how to show them that love, and you do that. Same thing for your wife back to you. And essentially, that's how love the feeling will grow, because you begin to serve one another. You begin to show that love, show that you love each other, and work together to actually make this home work, bring the money in, however, help the kids however they need to be helped, grow in your own wisdom and learning and everything, spiritually, intellectually, physically, alles. Now I want to throw this at Mao a little bit of the primary and secondary questions. Did you, when you were dating to end up where you are, did you also answer the primary question, or did you like her toes and were like, she's the one?
So, I did like her toes, but but it was
Those
beyond
are
that.
very important.
Yeah, they are. I mean, if they have crooked toes, it's gonna be a tough marriage. No, for me, it was definitely the most important questions first. Will I be able to go with this person to the temple? Does she even view the temple as something that's profound? Is the gospel real to her? Is it something that she loves the same way that I love it? Because to me, it's my life. And will I be able to progress with this person eternally? That was my primary focus. And then the other things, the secondary things were also important. Initially, they weren't. I'm not gonna lie, right? Initially, it was just, does this person love the Lord, and that's enough, But in my dating, I actually dated somebody who loved the Lord, right? Who had all the check boxes I had, that I had created, and I still was not ready to commit. And so I think being honest to myself, then I had to say the primary things are primary, But me as Mao, actually, I've just discovered that I do prefer some of the secondary things as well, Looking back now, they really aren't that important, right? They are just secondary. I can wholeheartedly tell somebody you will make it work with somebody who is committed to the Lord, right? I can wholeheartedly say that. But for me, I think one of the struggles that I learned, again, you get to know yourself with time, was yeah, those toes. I do actually want somebody with these kind of toes, and that was just me being true to myself at the time, and I didn't know that I had that. So that's how I'll answer that. Yeah.
Sweet.
Jump in again. Before we progress, as Maui is speaking, something is coming to my mind. Because I mean, after mission and staying for so many years, I spoke about how as time progresses, even your body tells you it's about time, right?
Mm.
And I fear that sometimes we marry because we want to satisfy those pleasures or those desires by the body. I was reading in the Book of Mormon. I think this was this morning or yesterday, when Alma was teaching the poor Zoramites about comparing the word to a seed. He said that if it's a good seed, then the word will grow, right? Sometimes the seed is good, but it is planted on barren ground, so much so that it doesn't actually. Right? But he spoke. He spoke along the lines of, you will plant the seed, and for a little while, for a season, it will grow, right? But
Yeah.
because it has not taken roots, it will then be scorched by the sun, and then
Right.
whatever it is that was growing, it will die. I'm speaking this because there's a fear around, in the church about, marriages that are failing, right? Um, and it's no longer in the back doors anymore. It's no longer, in the behind the scenes. It is something that we see, something
Yeah.
that is happening and needs to be addressed. The level of couples that are just, failing is increasing, right? And I'm trying to go back to the importance of having that proper foundation, with anything that you want to build, right? Whether it is your faith in the church, whether it is your faithfulness throughout your mission, or getting into marriage, the seed being planted and actually it taking root is very, very important. Because I keep saying this, the devil will not come at you, in your first year after your marriage, because he knows both of you guys are still strong. Wait until
Right.
15 years later, when you have taken a lot of things for granted, when you have when you have when you have not focused on some of the things that are basic, that matter the most, and then he will strike. And if that seed was planted and it did not take root, it will be scorched by the sun and it
Mm.
will die. So I'm just trying to emphasize on the answers to those primary questions with anything, whether we are speaking about someone's conversion, with anything. It's very, very, very important that everything is done with the right, foundation, for the right reasons, at the right time, with the right person, and at the right place.
You know, like Yonela is a very wise man. The fact that they didn't call you wise
True
man
that.
as Umdano was is another question on its own, but it's okay. We'll call you wise man for now. What I want to go at is, because you said very profound words on this, and you're not even married yet. I can only imagine when you get married, the how you'll be able to use that wisdom and knowledge, unless you'll be so confused because of the love. But we'll see when we get there. But my question to you is, because you've been home for almost 3 years, of course, you're not the missionary that's been home for like 15 years, like, like a ton of them. But what kind of advice would you give to a returned missionary who's struggling with dating at this point in time? He's struggling with dating or with marriage, wondering, when is he going to find the right one? You know, is he answering the primary question? You know, what kind of advice, you know, something that he can hold on to and say, okay, maybe I will be all right.
Well, if you come back from mission and you get fixated on the idea of dating and getting married, you're gonna struggle, and you're gonna do that for a very, very long time, because dating is literally just one aspect of your life. And then if you're gonna put everything else on hold because you want to achieve that particular aspect, then you're gonna suffer, and you're gonna do that for a very, 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 very long time. I keep saying this, even when I'm in a relationship, I like emphasizing on this. You need to have a life outside the relationship, right? You need to have friends. You need to, do things. You need to have education. You need to have something going on for you outside the relationship, so much that if it doesn't work out, the other aspects of your life that are supposed to be moving, they don't stop. This particular has stopped, right? Now, what I'm trying to say is, if someone is coming from mission and they want to date, but they're struggling with that, there are other things that they can do with their lives while trying to fix that particular aspect, right? They can be enrolled in school, they can look for employment, and all these other things. And guess what? Maybe when you're going to school, that's where you're gonna meet your wife or your girlfriend, or maybe at work, or other things. But you need to have other aspects of your life in motion. Don't make everything revolve around one center point, and that is dating, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's face it, dating is not as important, that important when you're coming back from mission.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
girls can be very annoying as well. So try to try
Yeah.
try
Keep
to
it
have
moving.
other aspects of your life in motion. Get your studies in motion, because those things will make you feel good about yourself, and they will build confidence in you. Try to get employment, because once you start getting paid, you start affording things and you'll look nice. That'll build a lot of confidence, and then it will attract other things. Because, I mean, no one is attracted to someone that is depressed. No one is attracted to someone that is going through a lot. A girl gets attracted to someone that is happy, to someone that is, alive. And
Yeah.
once you start working, and once you start doing other things, seeing that your life is moving forward, then other things will just begin to shift in, and then just fall into place.
That is awesome.
Wisdom, man. I can't get over it. I can't get over how wise you are. And if the sisters that are watching this, if you're sleeping after this, all right, I don't know. I don't know how to wake you up. All right, I don't know how to wake you up. Of course, that is if Mr. Mafundichala is on the market, hey. Yonela, one final question for you before we let you go. All right. Once again, first, we just want to thank you for taking your time to be with us and just for enlightening our minds. The final question is, what do you know now that you didn't know then? Okay. So, and I mean, you've already shared a lot of things that you know now that are mind blowing. But the day you got back home from your mission, okay, till now, 3 years later, what's different? What has changed in your perspective, in your understanding that you can share with us?
It's not necessarily something that is new, but it's something that I took for granted back then, but that's helping me continue today, right? We spoke a lot about primary questions here, and we were speaking on the terms of marriage with these primary questions. Now, the primary questions for a member of the church, things that we need to get answers from, and that is the Book of Mormon true? Was Joseph Smith the prophet? Is there a God in heaven? Is Jesus Christ his son? And now, if we get answers to these questions, and then everything else just begins to make sense. Now, when you're coming from your mission, you are on the highest highs, when it comes to spirituality and faith and all these other things that, brings us happiness. And then you go 3 years after your mission, and now I've had so many challenges. I've had so many trials of faith. I've had so many temptations, and all these things coming my way. And one thing that I keep reminding myself of that has kept me active in the church is knowing that I am a son of God. Right?
Yeah.
That Jesus Christ is the Savior and Redeemer of the world. He's my Redeemer. Knowing exactly that it doesn't matter whatever happens, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is true, and the Book of Mormon is true. Because as members of the church, especially now, we try to close the gap between our beliefs and our actions, right? And that is not the real challenge. The real challenge is closing the gap between our beliefs and the truth, because the truth never changes. The truth is the knowledge of things as they are, as they were, and as they are to come. Now, when you love the truth, right? Knowing that there's a God in heaven, that's a doctrine that will never change. Knowing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, that's one doctrine that will never change. The church being true, that will never change. The Book of Mormon is true, that will never change. Those things have kept me going even today. I spent a lot of time with my stake president, and we were reading in one book a quote that said, no one can be saved in partial truths, nor in partial acceptance of the truth. Sometimes we have a cafeteria approach to the kinds of truths that we want to accept and live by, even if we are members that have been members for 11 years, right? But trying to live by all truths is something that has kept me even 3 years later. I do not see myself leaving the Church of Jesus Christ. I do not see myself being apostate. I do not know what the future holds for me. I do not know what challenges I will get and how big I do not know if my faith will sustain me until the end. But but because I still know and have answers to these primary questions about my conversion, I can at least go to the following day and live to be faithful another day.
Wow, that is, I'm in love with the quote of, you will not be saved in partial truth, neither in partial acceptance of the truth. Truth is truth, whether you like it or not. Now you need to decide whether you believe it, and if you believe it, what do you do with that truth? And we mentioned in the last episode of, we come back home as returned missionaries, and we behave like we don't know. We didn't just have 2 years that changed our lives. We didn't just create a foundation of, I know this to be true, and testified of that every single day of our mission, and come back home and we're like, maybe the law of chastity is just not that big of a deal anymore. Maybe you go and maybe drink that bottle now. The word of wisdom doesn't make that much sense. We start to question these things as if we never had that opportunity, but we should realize that even if you question these things now, do it the same way you did it on mission. On mission, you question things and you take it to the Lord, you read your scriptures, and you're like, oh, okay, I believe that now. Then go to a lesson, but we kind of get stuck. But yeah.
Can I come in before Maui comes in and closes everything up? Now, where I'm serving in a church, I get to receive, pretty decent information. And this is very relevant for the purpose of this podcast. In the area as we're speaking now, 80% of the RMs, now I'm getting emotional about this because this is very important. 80% of the RMs that have returned in our time have gone less active.
80%.
And it's a very, 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 very sad statistic. It's a very sad statistic. I don't think a lot of RMs understand the potential that we have. I'm reminded of the Nephites in the Book of Mormon after Jesus Christ came. In 4th Nephi, I think this is in 4th Nephi, where it says, for so many decades, the Nephites prospered in righteousness. They were keeping the commandments, and they were united even with the Lamanites. They prospered in righteousness. But that changed because of the rising generation. Satan is so cunning and so clever, and he has mastered the art of deceit. He understands that if he defeats the rising generation, then the church will not progress as much as it's supposed to. We are the future of the church. Our missions prepare us to take over in the church, because our stake presidents and our bishops, they'll only serve for only a given amount of time. And then the Lord will look upon those that have served him, on missions to take over the church, to take over in, leadership roles. And Satan is literally targeting young returned missionaries, giving them challenges and all these things. And sadly, a lot of our brothers and sisters are succumbing to all of this pressure, so much that we have a vast number of RMs that have come home and have gone less active. So for that, I just want to say thank you for basically trying to address these challenges, because these are challenges that we are facing. This is not a statistic for the Mdantsane stake. This is a statistic for the entire area itself. We have a lot of RMs that are leaving. We have a lot of RMs that are falling. We have a lot of RMs that are succumbing into a lot of temptation. And it's mainly because Satan understands we are the rising generation. If he defeats us, then the entire plan will be on hold for a very long time.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a tough one.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
Sure.
That's deep. Man, Yonela, once again, thank you so much for being with us, man. This was a treat. I think we knew when we bring you in, we are bringing the big dogs, but no, you've definitely stepped up, and you've definitely fed us things to think about, and just to our viewers out there, please do like, subscribe as well, and send in any questions as well. All right, Yonela would be happy to answer those even in private. But thank you once again, man, for being with us, and thanks to our subscribers, for those who have subscribed, and please continue to subscribe, continue to like, continue to share, and we will see you next time on the following episode of Beyond the Black Tag. Peace out.